Right, this is part 6. Last part we ended talking about the characteristics of connective tissue. Now what we're going to do is talk about the different types. Now just keep in mind that we had CT proper, cartilage, bone, and blood. So this says loose, but this is the beginning of CT proper. Right? And then we have loose. We'll go over a couple of types. Then we're going to go over CT proper dense. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. There are 3 types of loose, 2 types of dense under CT proper. And again, the cell type for CT proper is the fibroblast. So for most of these, we're going to see the fibroblast, the cell. So our first type of loose is going to be areolar connective tissue. It has all 3 CT fibers. The fibroblasts, that's really what you can just focus on for right now. I was just trying to tie stuff into when we get to an inflammatory response in 169. I'll just wait to do that. And areolar CT is found pretty much everywhere. And so once we take a look at an image of this, we see that there are going to be all of these different types of fibers. Here's the elastic, collagen is much, much thicker. And here are our fibroblasts, all right? So the probably most unique type of the loose is going to be adipose tissue. So there will be a few fibroblasts here and there, but the majority is going to be made up of adipocytes, and that this is the one exception to that. And then what are the functions of fat, right? And then where do we find fat? So that's pretty straightforward. And when we take a look at this, that honeycomb-shaped appearance. And then the last are going to be reticular CT. So we're going to have a lot of reticular fibers. These cells are going to line a fiber network, and they're going to form this stroma that will support other cell types. And if you remember from the previous one, said we're going to have these reticular fibers, and then attached to it, we're going to see these cells. All right, and so we're going to see it, lymph nodes, bone marrow, spleen. So basically what's going to happen is as they're hanging from these cells, fluid will be flowing through, and then these cells can kind of check that fluid to make sure that we don't have anything invading us, or it might also be for just regular maintenance. And then we can see all of that here. Here are all of these reticular fibers, and then here are the cell types that are hanging from them. And that too is it's a pretty distinctive tissue. All right, CT proper dense. Okay, so we did CT proper. I think I have some room here. So we did CT proper, and then we had underneath that we had loose, and now we're doing dense. Okay, so CT proper loose, we did areolar, adipose, and reticular. CT proper dense. Dense regular is our first one. So we're going to see, and what we're going to see, I'm not trying to be sarcastic here, if we have pulling forces within one direction, we're going to want fibers running all in that same direction. So if we have these 2 structures and they'll be pulled on from one direction, we're going to want to run a whole bunch of fibers between those 2 structures, and they're going to be dense, and all of those fibers are going to be parallel. The major cell type is the fibroblast, so we're going to see that where we attach muscles to bone, muscle to muscle, or bone to bone. And here's the list of what they are. Okay, bone to bone is a ligament, muscle to bone is a tendon, and then muscle to muscle is called an aponeurosis. And you should know those too. And that's predominantly where we're going to find this dense regular. And here's one example of it. The only thing that I want to kind of stress here is that they don't always have to be this wavy. A lot of times that they'll just be running in these straight lines. Right, so we will see some variation when viewing dense regular. So dense irregular is where we're going to want to withstand pulling forces in many different directions. So if we have this structure and it can be pulled this way, this way, this way, this way, in here you're going to want all of your fibers to be running all over the place. So it is an irregular arrangement of collagen fibers. And major cell type is still the fibroblasts. So we're going to see it in the dermis and submucosa of the digestive tract. And here again with this one, we see quite a bit of variation, which I guess you would expect for dense irregular. So the image that they show, it's not always going to look like that. Some other times there'll be a lot more space in between because it's this irregular network. All right, so that is it for our CT proper. We're going to be taking a look at the other types of CT on the next one.